Okay, so how come then, my perception is when I look at companies, they always have a, marketing manager or a chief marketing officer.
Yep.
There's no branding person.
Well, the good
Is
companies.
there a chief branding officer or
Let me give you a great example. One of my favorite hospitality brands is the Langham Group. And the Langham Group have a chief brand officer, and he sits on the main board. He has exactly equal status as the CFO, CMO, CEO. So he's and he is in charge of delivering brand experience through the entire organization at every touch point. So he is responsible for maintaining and refining and refreshing the brand experience throughout. So there's a wonderful Langham Hotel in Hong Kong, which is basically an art gallery masquerading as a hotel. The chairman has a wonderful art collection. And so from the pickup at the airport right through to after your stay, every touch point is curated and managed by a brand director. And they have been very successful at carving out a really clear brand structure. And through that, they have very strong brand loyalty. And that delivers more cash value at the end of the day than probably all the other C-level functions put together. So it's an interesting question, is why don't people have a chief brand officer? In my opinion, every organization should have one. And it's amazing how often the brand guideline or the brand book that we create, people think the brand guideline is, what's the color palette and which fonts do we use? We always create a book, and it starts with culture. So the brand positioning is about who we are, what we believe, how we behave, what we stand for. And that's far more important than the Pantone color. That's just something you can check later. So very often the brand book will go in a drawer and will get brought out once a year when somebody goes, the design agency wants to know what color the font is or whatever. So the brand blueprint is absolutely key, and the responsibility for building value into that brand blueprint, it doesn't stop when my job finishes. It starts when my job finishes, really. So the public communication part of that is marketing, but the brand and the discipline around the brand is an ongoing discipline that everybody in the organization should contribute to every day.
So are you seeing more sort of chief branding officers or, branding starting to stand on its own feet within organizations?
I'm seeing much more understanding of what that is, and therefore more attention to that. So again, you and I have been in Vietnam for a long time. When I first came to Vietnam, CEOs would call me and go, "Yeah, we need one of those brands like the international companies have." There would be construction company number 17, which was an ex-state company, and they realized that to compete they had to have what they considered to be a brand. And so they thought that was a logo and maybe a key visual and a nice tagline, and that then they could go to market and smarten up their website. Now there is much, much more understanding that means experience, and it means shared belief with your audience, whoever that may be, whether that's for a vote or a newspaper story or a purchase, whatever it is you want from your audience. People need to share your beliefs. And more, I think C-suite decision makers are understanding that that's what's important.
So if in an organization, typically you would have a chief marketing officer, okay, or a marketing manager or whatever. If they're not coming from a branding background and they're coming from straight downstream marketing, does that cause a problem?
No, because I think if you studied marketing, you know what brand is and where it belongs. And so quite often, I'll give another example where a large conglomerate in Hanoi was told by McKinsey to hire us. So McKinsey gave them a very strong marketing plan. They said there are this many consumers, they'll pay this much per square meter for your real estate. They want to see these attributes from a big. So the target that was set by that conglomerate was, we want to be top 3 in Vietnam in 5 years. So McKinsey will give you a roadmap for that, right? And they'll give you the finance, and they'll say, okay, you need the structure, and you need to get finance from here, and you need to develop these things. But part of what they said was, in the first 100 days of doing this exercise, you're going to need to rebrand. And you need to then have that strong messaging that drives everything else downstream. And that was one of the ones actually where we struggled, because CEOs, we've had situations in the past where Vietnamese CEOs have said, okay, well, give me a spreadsheet that says what's my ROI on this logo. And it's like, well, yeah, it's a combination of 101 million things, tiny things that each person in your organization does to represent and improve the brand every day. And then you'll start to see, and when it takes off, it'll be exponential. What day that happens on is difficult for me to quantify, and it depends on whether or not we deliver all these things. So your sales team, your marketing team, your accounting team, everybody that's involved in the brand has to deliver to make this happen. So it can be a problem if the marketing team only focuses on the marketing. But what the marketing team tend to want to know is, okay, give me our messaging, give me our core that we can build from, and we can then deliver into these channels. I think where they perhaps sometimes fall down is not thinking broadly enough across the organization. So, like, as I said, accountants are part of the brand. How you do your invoicing is part of your brand. How you pay your bills is part of your brand. All of those things become part of your brand essence and your brand delivery. And again, with hospitality, we're used to mapping that. It's literally a journey. For every guest, we know, how are they treated at reception? How do the gardeners greet them when they walk through the grounds? What little stories can we tell? What's the location story? All of those things. But bigger organizations or different organizations don't feel comfortable with that sort of esoteric language. They want very specific. And that's why people think in markets like Vietnam that I hear very often, oh, Vietnam's such a price-driven market, which is just simply not true most of the time. Price is simply permission to buy things in a certain category and at a certain time. So it's interesting. It's interesting to work through that. And yes, it can be a problem for certain marketing people to remember the involvement of the brand and the importance of the brand and where the brand lives.